Welcome to our deep dive into Indiana's deadliest cities. Now, I know what you're thinking. Indiana, deadliest cities? Isn't that where they film those heartwarming Hallmark movies about corn mazes and finding love at the pumpkin spice latte stand? Well, buckle up, because it turns out Indiana's got a darker side than its tourism board wants you to know about. Recent research has uncovered a disturbing pattern in the state's murder rates, making it clear that something is very, very wrong in the Hoosier state. We're not talking about your run-of-the-mill, oh dear, someone stole my decorative gourd kind of crime here. We're talking about serious, violent crime, the kind that makes you want to invest in a panic room and a lifetime supply of canned goods. And the truly messed up part, it's not just happening in one or two isolated pockets. This disturbing trend is rearing its ugly head across multiple cities, leaving a trail of devastation in its wake. So if you're planning a trip to Indiana anytime soon, you might want to pack some pepper spray alongside your hiking boots. Because today we're going deep into the heart of Indiana's crime wave, exploring the factors that have contributed to this crisis and asking the tough questions about what can be done to stop it. Our first stop on this tour of despair takes us to Gary, Indiana. A city that was once a thriving hub of American industry, but now stands as a stark monument to economic decline and urban decay. You see, Gary used to be a steel town, a place where hard-working Americans could find good-paying jobs and raise their families in relative comfort. But then the steel mills closed, jobs dried up faster than a puddle in Death Valley, and Gary was left to rot. These days, Gary is less steel city and more city that even the Tin Man would think twice about visiting. With a staggering 4.54 violent crimes and 29.96 property crimes per 1,000 residents, Gary's crime rates are enough to make even the most hardened criminal justice expert wince. We're talking significantly higher than both the state and national averages, a fact that should be embarrassing for anyone in a position of power in Indiana. And if you're thinking about visiting Gary and just sticking to the nice parts of town, well, good luck finding them. The report specifically calls out areas like the Concord area, 5th Avenue, 21st Street, Delaney Projects, Tarrytown, and Clark Road as places you'd be better off avoiding like a pack of rabid badgers. Seriously, if your GPS tries to take you to any of these places, throw it out the window and drive in the opposite direction. But here's the real kicker. Even when you factor in Gary's history, its economic struggles, and the fact that it's located in a state that seems to have a complicated relationship with law enforcement, the numbers are still terrifying. Gary's murder rate, my friends, is still significantly higher than the national average. This isn't just a case of a city down on its luck. This is a full-blown crisis. Local leaders and community members have been trying to address these issues, but the challenges are immense. There are efforts to revitalize the economy and bring new businesses to the area, but progress is slow and often feels like a drop in the bucket. Despite the dire circumstances, there are still hopeful residents who believe in the potential for a brighter future. Urban renewal projects and community gardens are small steps towards rebuilding, but they symbolize a resilient spirit that refuses to give up. Gary, Indiana may be a city on the brink, but it's also a city with people who are determined to fight for its survival. Next, we travel to the beating heart of Indiana, its largest city and capital, Indianapolis. Known for its vibrant culture and bustling streets, this city has a lot more going on beneath the surface. Now, you might think that a state capital with its fancy government buildings and presumably well-funded police force would be a bastion of safety and security. You'd be wrong. Despite appearances, the reality is far more complex and troubling. Indianapolis, while home to the Indy 500 and a giant statue of a guy with a racing flag, is also a hotbed of criminal activity. The city's charm is overshadowed by its darker side. We're talking property crime clocking in at a rate of more than 35 incidents per 1,000 residents. This isn't just a number, it's a reflection of the daily struggles faced by the community. That's like leaving your front door unlocked while blasting Steal My Sunshine on repeat. You're practically begging to become a statistic. The sense of vulnerability is palpable, and don't even get me started on the violent crime rate, which is more than twice the state average. This isn't just a statistic, it's a daily reality for many residents. It's almost like someone put Indianapolis in a headlock and yelled, "Nobody tell them," about basic safety precautions. The city's struggle with crime is both alarming and disheartening. To make matters worse, if you break down the crime rate in Indianapolis by the square mile, it's over 5 times higher than the state average. This concentration of crime is staggering. That's right, folks. Indianapolis isn't just dangerous, it's efficiently dangerous. The density of crime here is a serious concern. They've somehow managed to cram more crime into each square mile than a clown car at a convention for aspiring contortionists. The situation is almost surreal in its intensity. And while Indianapolis might try to hide behind the excuse that it's a big city, and big cities just have more crime, let me stop you right there. The scale of the problem here is beyond typical urban challenges. Even when you take into account its urban population, the analysis shows that Indianapolis's murder rate is still significantly higher than the national average. This is a crisis that demands attention. This isn't just a big city problem, this is an Indianapolis problem. The community is grappling with a reality that requires urgent and effective solutions. Hold on to your hats, folks, because our next stop takes us to South Bend, Indiana, a city that holds the dubious distinction of being the most deadly city in the entire state. Yes, you heard that right. South Bend, the 4th largest city in Indiana, is also the most dangerous. And before you ask, no, this isn't some kind of statistical anomaly. The numbers coming out of South Bend are enough to make your hair stand on end. We're talking a violent crime rate of 14.46 per 1,000 inhabitants. That's over 5 times the state average. It's like someone replaced all the pigeons in South Bend with angry ninjas. You're never quite sure when or where the next attack is coming from.
But wait, there's more. South Bend also boasts a property crime rate of 33.79 per 1,000, more than double the state average. It's like the criminals in South Bend are playing a twisted game of bingo, trying to see who can rack up the most offenses before someone finally puts a stop to it. The data paints a grim picture of a city in the grip of a violent crime wave, a place where the fear of becoming a victim is a constant companion for many residents.
And while the reasons behind South Bend's descent into lawlessness are complex and multifaceted, one thing is clear: something needs to change. Our final stop on this journey through Indiana's underbelly takes us to Evansville, the state's 3rd largest city and a place where the charm of riverboat casinos is overshadowed by the harsh reality of high crime rates. This city, known for its vibrant nightlife and bustling urban environment, hides a darker, more sinister side that many are unaware of. Located in Vanderburgh County, Evansville might seem like a peaceful Midwestern city on the surface, but beneath the veneer of normalcy lurks a darker side. The picturesque streets and friendly neighborhoods mask a troubling undercurrent of criminal activity that affects the daily lives of its residents. We're talking a property crime rate of 36.71 per 1,000 residents, a number that should make even the most trusting soul invest in a good deadbolt. This high rate of property crime means that residents must constantly be on guard, taking extra precautions to protect their homes and belongings. And if you thought the property crime was bad, the violent crime rate is nothing to scoff at either, clocking in at 7.44 per 1,000 residents. This level of violent crime creates an atmosphere of fear and uncertainty, where the threat of violence is a constant presence. That's higher than both the state and national averages, in case you were keeping track at home. These statistics paint a grim picture of a city struggling to keep its crime rates under control, despite efforts from law enforcement and community leaders.
But here's where things get really interesting. Evansville's crime rate per square mile is 5 times higher than the state average. This concentration of crime in such a small area is alarming and highlights the severity of the issue. That's right, folks. Evansville has managed to achieve a level of concentrated crime that would make even the most hardened criminals from other cities tip their hats in grudging respect. The city's urban areas are particularly affected, with certain neighborhoods becoming hotspots for criminal activity. It's like they've created a crime singularity, a black hole of lawlessness that sucks in everything around it. The chaotic urban environment and economic challenges contribute to this cycle of crime, making it difficult to break free.
And while some might try to argue that Evansville's crime problems are just a symptom of its size, the report's authors are quick to point out that even when you factor out the influence of big cities, the alarming trends persist. This suggests that the issues are deeply rooted and not merely a byproduct of urbanization. Evansville, my friends, is not just a dangerous city, it's a dangerous city that's punching above its weight class. The level of crime here is disproportionate to its size, making it a unique case study in urban crime. The homicide rate in Evansville is also significantly higher than both the state and national averages, a grim statistic that underscores the very real danger facing its residents. This high rate of violent crime, particularly homicides, is a stark reminder of the city's ongoing struggle with safety and security. This isn't just a case of a few bad apples spoiling the bunch. This is a systemic problem that demands attention. The pervasive nature of crime in Evansville calls for comprehensive solutions and a concerted effort from all sectors of the community to address the root causes and create a safer environment for everyone. So, there you have it, a glimpse into the unsettling reality of Indiana's deadliest cities. The findings of this report should serve as a serious wake-up call for Indiana and other areas grappling with high homicide rates. This isn't just a statistic, it's a reflection of real lives lost, families torn apart, and communities living in fear.
It's time for lawmakers to stop burying their heads in the sand and start addressing this issue head-on. Recognizing the problem is the first step, but it's not enough. We need comprehensive, data-driven solutions that address the root causes of violence and provide communities with the resources they need to break the cycle of crime.
Resolving this public safety emergency requires swift action to protect the residents of Indiana. Let's hope that those in power have the courage and the political will to make it happen.
The study's conclusions should serve as a serious wake-up call for Indiana and other areas where homicide rates are high. Legislators may fight to establish safer communities and buck this alarming trend by recognizing the issue and putting comprehensive, data-driven remedies into place. Resolving this public safety emergency requires swift action in order to protect the inhabitants of Indiana.